Hey there, my name is Chris Lair. I'm a Microsoft consultant here at SimplerWeb. In the past 2 or 3 years since Exchange 2007 released, we've deployed about 30 different Exchange 2007 organizations. And only about 10% of those were using high availability or disaster recovery. And I'm here to kind of explain why that is and also why Exchange 2010 makes high availability and disaster recovery a little more accessible. First, in Exchange 2007, if you wanted a highly available solution, you needed to plan it from the start. If you had just a single server environment and you later wanted to move to a clustered environment, you needed to pretty much buy 2 new pieces of hardware, establish a new cluster, and move the mailboxes to the new cluster. Second, high availability in Exchange 2007 required that only the mailbox role be deployed in the cluster. Your hub transport and your client access role still needed to be deployed elsewhere. So now we would have CCR to provide high availability for our mailbox role, but we would have our hub transport and client access role on a single server. To add additional high availability to those 2 roles, an additional piece of hardware needed to be purchased and network load balancing needed to be deployed. So now we have a highly available cluster for our mailbox role, we have a highly available network load balancer for our hub transport and CAS, but we don't really have any disaster preparedness. That came into play with Exchange 2007 SP1, and in Exchange 2007 SP1, Standby Continuous Replication, or SCR, was released. This allowed to have an offline copy of your database that used log shipping to ship logs and replay them at your DR location. If you ever did declare a disaster at your main site, you could bring your data online at your DR site relatively easily. However, this required some command line input or some scripting to be done beforehand in order to bring this data online. With the upcoming release of Exchange 2010, Microsoft has taken what they've learned from both CCR and SCR technologies and combined them into a new technology known as Database Availability Groups, or DAGs. The 2 biggest improvements of Exchange 2010 DAGs over Exchange 2007 CCR and SCR is that we can now do an incremental deployment, and also we do not have to move the hub transport and client access role off to other servers. Additionally, leaving your hub transport and CAS roles on your Exchange 2010 servers means that your licensing costs would be cheaper than if you were deploying an Exchange 2007 solution. Further, this Exchange 2010 DAG solution is also your disaster recovery solution, just like Exchange 2007 SCR was. In the event of a disaster, you can bring your databases online at your DR site. As you can see, Exchange 2010 allows you to build a highly available and fault-tolerant solution relatively easily, with less servers and hardware involved than an Exchange 2007 environment would. On top of that, Microsoft has improved I/O performance by 70% over Exchange 2007. Thanks to this, we can now consider cheaper storage alternatives such as SATA disks if you're deploying more than 3 copies in a DAG. Exchange 2010's high availability and disaster recovery options are not the only new features. There's a lot of new stuff to learn about. If you'd like to learn more, contact us here at SimplerWeb. Hi there, I'm Chris Lair, Senior Microsoft Consultant at SimplerWeb. First, in Exchange 2007, sorry, my chair's all. If a disaster ever was declared on your main site, you just looked at me and threw me off. I'm so sorry. I thought I did something wrong. I was like, what? All right, sorry. If a disaster was declared, no, I'm laughing still.